So, today we're going to be making a Jawa. I have a photo of a Jawa here. You can see that they're basically glowing eyes in a hood because they wear black masks, basically. So there's their gown and their little face. I'm going to be using a 3mm hook for this. And we're going to start with the head. So, using black wool, we are going to make our slip knot. I wrap it around my finger and pull the wool through, but there's many ways to make a slip knot. Now I'm going to chain 2. And to make a circle, I'm going to do 8 single crochet stitches into the first chain. And there are my 8 stitches. Now for our next row, we're going to do a 2-stitch rotation 4 times. So get a marker and just put it in there. That represents the beginning of each row. It makes it easier later on. So we're going to do 1 single crochet. And then we're going to do an increase stitch. So we single crochet 2 stitches in this next hole. And then we repeat that 3 more times. So a single crochet and an increase. A single crochet and an increase, a single crochet and an increase. This brings us back to our marker. Now we just put the marker through the front and carry on. Now we're going to do 4 rows. So we should have 12 stitches at this point. So we can do 4 rows of single crochet. There's the first. Was it? Oh yeah. Thanks. coming to the end of the 4 rows now. There we go. That is the majority of the head. All we need to do now is decrease in for the neck. So keeping the marker going through it. We're now going to do a single crochet, and we're going to decrease. We're going to repeat the last 2 stitches 3 more times. So we're going to do a single crochet and a decrease. A single crochet and a decrease. A single crochet and a decrease. And there we have it. There is the head of the Jawa. So now we're going to be moving on to the body. Don't cast off, just cut the wool. So we're still attached, but we just have the wool attached now. So pull the marking wool out, and that'll leave you with the plain black head. Probably best you stuff the head now, it'll make it easier later on. So just taking out a little bit of stuffing, make sure it's nice and fluffed up. And then place it in the head. You can poke it in. Be careful with your hands if you're going to use scissors, but they were the closest thing I had. Excellent. So now for the body, we're going to move on to the chocolate brown. And so we're going to carry on as if it was another single crochet. So we're going to put our hook through the wool, but we're now going to pull through brown wool for the loop, and then pull more brown wool through, and now we've changed colours. So that was 1 single crochet. Now we're going to increase. We're going to do a triple increase, so we're going to increase this 1 stitch into 3 stitches by doing 3 single crochets into the 1 stitch. And we'll do that again, so 3 more single crochets into the next stitch. And now they're done, we're going to single crochet 2 stitches. And for the next shoulder, we're going to increase 3 times into this stitch. So that's 3 single crochets into the next stitch, and 3 single crochets into the stitch after. And finish the row off. We're just going to do 1 more single crochet. At this point you should have 16 stitches. You can see how it's expanding again for the shoulders. So, count your 16 stitches. And now we're going to do 3 single crochets. We're going to do an increase stitch, and then another increase stitch. These are just 2 single crochets into each hole. Now we are going to single crochet 6 stitches. And now we're going to do another 2 increase stitches. So 2 single crochets will go into the next stitch. That'll increase it from 1 stitch into 2. It's quite a small stitch, but that was just because I did it quite tight. There we go, so that's 2 into that one, and 2 single crochets into this next hole. And now we're going to single crochet 3 stitches. And at this point we should have 20 stitches. Now, if you grab the marker again, we're going to start one of the largest parts of the Jawa, the body. So we're going to do 6 rows. So if we just place the mark in the beginning of the row, and then work over it. So we're going to do 6 rows of 20 stitches, which is 120 stitches if my maths is correct. And here we have our 6 rows completed. So here you can see we've now got the torso of the Jawa. Now, for our next row we're going to single crochet 3 stitches. Then we're going to do an increase stitch. So we're going to single crochet 2 stitches into the next hole. We're now going to single crochet another 2 and increase again. Now we're going to single crochet 7 stitches. And now we've worked across the front, we're going to do an increase stitch, 2 single crochets, and another increase stitch. Now we're just going to single crochet 2 stitches to bring us to the end of our row. Now remember, we just finished 6 rows. Unfortunately, it's not quite tall enough, and we're going to have to do another 6 rows. But it's only another 120 stitches. Not that much. You should have 24 stitches on the round as well at this point. Which means my math was incorrect. It's now 24 times 6. Which I think makes 142? 144? 144 is 12 times 12. No, I think it is 144 stitches. Anyway, let's get back to the crochet. And we're almost there, just half a row left. And there we go. That is the full-length Jawa. I promise you, there are no more 6 rows anywhere in this pattern. There's a few 5 rows, but they only have 6 stitches in a row. So we're going to slip stitch to finish off, and we are going to cut the wool, and then pull the wool through the slip stitch. So, there we have the main body of our Jawa. And now we've finished the Jawa's body, we're going to move on to making the hood. So still using our 3mm hook, we're going to get our chocolate brown wool, and we're going to make a slip knot. Now we're going to chain 17 stitches. And there are the 17. Now we're going to single crochet 16 stitches. So missing out the first chain, we're going to go into the second chain from our hook and do 16 single crochets, which should bring us to the end of our chains. And there we should now have a row of 16 stitches. Now we're going to chain one and turn the wool. And now we're going to do a triple decrease. So we're going to put our hook through the first stitch, pull a loop, pull another loop through the second stitch and the third stitch, and that means we're turning 3 stitches into 1 stitch. And now we are going to single crochet 10. And we're going to do another triple decrease. So we're going to pull a loop through first, second and third stitch, and then pull the wool through all 4 of those loops. Now we should have 12 stitches. So now we're going to single crochet 4 rows. And there we have our 4 rows. So now we are going to do 4 chains. And we're going to wrap what we've made so far in a semicircle and slip stitch onto the other end of our row, making it a full circle. So here's the last stitch in my row. So I'm going to do 1 slip stitch, attaching the end of the chains to the other end of the row. Now we have a circle, and you can see how the hood is going together. Now we're going to do 1 chain and work the other way back across the chains we've just done and single crochet 1 row. You should have 16 stitches at this point. And there we have it. So now we're going to start decreasing for the top of the hood. So we're going to do 1 single crochet, So after the first single crochet of this row, we are going to do a decrease stitch, and we're going to single crochet 2. And we will now do another decrease stitch. Now we're going to single crochet 6 stitches. And we will decrease. And single crochet 1 stitch. That brings us to the end of this row. We should have 13 stitches in total now. So for the start of our next row, we're going to do a single crochet, and we're going to do 2 decreases. That's our first decrease, and then we're going to decrease again. Now we're going to single crochet 7 stitches. And we're going to finish with a decrease. And you can see that it's really starting to slope inwards for the top of the head. Now for our next row, we're going to do a triple decrease. So we're going to pull the wool through 1 stitch, in fact, if we do a single crochet before the triple decrease, and here's the triple decrease now, just pull the wool through 4 of the loops there. And now we're going to do 3 normal decreases. So that's 1 decrease of just 2 stitches. Here's the second decrease. And here's the third decrease. And now if you skip the next stitch and slip stitch the stitch after the one we skipped. Now, from here, we're going to do 1 chain. We're going to turn the hood to its side. And we're going to stitch across the hole. So we put the hook through this stitch on this side and through the stitch on the opposite side of the hole, and we do a single crochet which will essentially sew the hole up. Now we're going to do 1 chain. We're going to slip stitch back into the single crochet and then slip stitch into the hole which our single crochet went through, leaving us with a little pointy top for the hat. And there's the hood complete. Make sure you leave a nice long bit of string when you cut it, and then pull the wool through. Now we're going to attach the hood to the head. So I'm going to pull the wool through the top of the hat. And we can see how it's going to sit. So, with that in mind, we're going to pull the wool through the back of the Jawa's head. So we'll get the wool from the hat and pull it through the back of the Jawa's head. And pull it relatively tight, but don't pull the point at the top too much. Now it shouldn't fall off, but it's not quite sewn on properly yet, so we're going to put our hook through one of the front flaps we have here, and we're going to then put it through the body, and we're going to pull the wool from the hat through into the front, so it's now sewing everything together. Now these flaps should come together to give the hood a nice circle shape, but to get it to do that, we're going to have to do the same to the other side. So if we put our hook in through the chest at this time, so there we go, through the chest, and then we're going to go out diagonally, only one row or so, and then through the hood of the other side of the hood. Now we're going to pull the wool through that and pull tight, meaning the two corners of the hood will be pulled together, leaving us with a nice circle finish to the hood. Now if we pull that tight, I'm going to pull a loop. So I'll just put my hook through, pull a loop of that through, and then pull the rest of the string through that loop to secure it so it doesn't unsew itself. But you can do this as you wish. And then we're just going to pull the remaining wool onto the inside of the Jawa. And there's the majority of our Jawa. You've only got finishing touches now. Now if we take some stuffing, and we make sure it's nice and fluffy. And then we'll kind of roll it into the shape of the Jawa's body. Here I'm rolling it so it's the kind of long, thin shape of the Jawa, and then we just poke it into the body. I stuffed mine relatively tightly, so you can see I'm adding even more, but it's your choice on how tightly you stuff your Jawa. Make sure all the stuffing is nice and in. And now we've got to make the bottom piece, which will sew around the bottom to stop the stuffing coming out, the arms and the eyes. So, to make the bottom for our Jawa, we're going to use the same chocolate brown wool. We're going to make a slip knot, and we're going to chain 4. Now we're going to do an increase stitch in the 3rd chain. We're going to do a single crochet, and we're going to do an increase stitch. Then we're going to do another increase stitch into that same stitch, and on the other side of the single crochet stitch we're going to do another single crochet, and on the other side of the increase stitch we're going to do another increase. This will give us a nice oval. Now we are going to do 1 single crochet, and 1 increase, and we're going to do that 4 more times. So there's a single crochet and increase, single crochet and increase, single crochet and increase, single crochet and increase. So we should now have 15 stitches. Now we're going to single crochet 1, and we're going to increase. Now we're going to single crochet 3 stitches, and we're going to increase. And we're going to single crochet 2 stitches, and increase. And we're going to single crochet 4 stitches, and we're going to increase. And to finish off, we will do a slip stitch. And there's the oval that will sit on the bottom of our Jawa. So, cutting, we need to make sure we cut the string nice and long. And then we can start sewing it. So I'm now going to pull the wool through the slip stitch I made. And we're going to start sewing. So line your oval up with the slip stitch we did for the body, and pull the wool through the body's stitch. Now there's more stitches around the body than there are on the inside, so you might have to skip some of the stitches around the edge, but I like to pull the wool through both stitches and then pull it back into the first stitch. So here, I'll show you. There is a stitch from the edge of the inside here, and there's a stitch on the outside here, so we'll put it through both of them and pull the wool through. And now, to get a nice flat finish, we're going to go back through the same stitch on the outside and pull the wool through it. Now if we repeat this multiple times, all around the bottom of the Jawa, we'll end up with our finished Jawa with all the stuffing inside. Sealed. So I'm skipping every other stitch for the outside of the Jawa, and I'm doing every stitch for the bottom piece I just made, meaning it won't become awkward or difficult at the end. And you can see the nice flat finish I was talking about. It'll mean the Jawa can stand up really easily. Feel free to get rid of the other strings which are hanging about, because we won't be needing them anymore. Just pull them in while you've still got an opening. Makes sewing a little easier. And there we go. And now the Jawa is fully sewn up. As I say, we've only got a few tiny bits left to do, and then a few accessories if you wish to do them. So, I'm going to cut the wool and pull it in. You may want to tie it or secure it in some fashion. I haven't this time. It stands up really easily, which standing figures up is one of the things I really like to do, so if they don't stand up, it can be a bit awkward. Makes me think of, in my Clone Army video, trying to stand up all the clones and then they'd fall over, they'd all just knock each other over like dominoes. If you haven't seen my Clone Army or Droid Army video, or my videos that are going to come out, and probably have came out by now, on my Mandalorian or Hutt armies, feel free to check them out. But now we're going to be moving on to the arms. So, grabbing our chocolate brown, we are going to do a slip knot. And we are going to chain 2. That's one chain. Now we are going to do 6 single crochets into the first chain. And there we have our 6 single crochets. Now we're going to do 5 rows in a circle. So if I do my maths, I believe that's 30 stitches. Just a tip I will give you quickly is that once you've done your first row, turn the crochet inside out, as it has a much neater finish, and it will be harder if you do a few more rows, which I demonstrate later. And then we will do a slip stitch and cut the wool, but make sure you cut the wool nice and long. You'll need it for sewing the arm on later. And now if you pull the wool through the slip stitch, we have our arm complete. Didn't take long at all. So that will be sewn onto the side of the Jawa, just like that. If my camera will focus. I'll just tap the Jawa. There we go. So let's pull the wool through the entire length of the arm, so it's coming out of the shoulder, and that leaves us with a nice flat ring of stitches, which works as a nice sleeve end. But we're now going to give it a hand. We're going to grab our black wool, as they wear black gloves, or they have black furry hands, I guess. And we are going to pick up the arm. Now we're going to go into half of one of the stitches, it doesn't matter which. So we just want to go on the inside half of the stitch. We're then going to pull a loop through, and we're going to do 1 chain. Now we are going to do a single crochet stitch, and we're going to go into 1/2 of the opposite stitch, and do a second single crochet. There we have the arm. Now we are going to do a decrease stitch, and that'll act as the hand and fingers. Now for the thumb we're going to chain 3 and slip stitch back into the original hole. You want the thumb to join the hand at the top for this hand, making it a left hand, and when we do the right hand we'll do the slip stitch at the bottom of the hand, so that the thumb's always at the top. It doesn't really matter when it's the scale, but it's the little details that make these little figures so great. So there you can see that the Jawa can now hold things, as it's holding my hook here. that'll become handy if you want to make the blaster for the Jawa. So we're now going to make the second arm, so doing 1 slip knot. We now chain 2, and we do 6 single crochets into the first chain. And now we have our 6 stitches. We are going to do 5 rows. And that's my 6 stitches, so at this point you should be turning yours inside out, but I forgot and did another row. Which means here I can show you that turning it inside out when it's more than 1 row does require a hook to pull the beginning through, but it's now inside out. And so we are going to do the last 3 rows. And now we're going to do another 6 stitches, which will be our last row. We're going to do a slip knot, cut the wool nice and long, and pull the wool through. Then we'll pull it back through to the shoulder. And now we've got to start making the hand. So taking our black wool, we're going to insert our hook into 1/2 of a stitch. We're going to pull the wool through, do a chain and a single crochet into the same half of a stitch, then go to the opposite side and go into the inside half of another stitch on the opposite side and do another single crochet. Now we're going to decrease, and now we're going to do 3 chains. And we are going to do our slip knot into the other side of the hand. So I'll just repeat that because I went off frame. But because this is the other side, it's his other hand, we need the thumb to be going on the opposite end, so that both of the thumbs meet the hand at the top. So we're going to go into this side and do our slip knot. Then we're going to cut the wool and pull it into the arm. And here you can see he's now able to hold something in this arm as well. Now we've completed both the arms, all we need to do is sew them to the body. So we're going to work out where the arm goes. I'm going to put it in where the hood meets the body. So if we put our hook in through the body, just below where the hood is, and pull the wool from the arm through. Make sure the thumb is on the top of the hand so you've got the right arm. And then we're going to pull the wool through the top of the Jawa's arm. And it's your choice on how you sew it. I just go in and out of the same hole a few times. And to make sure the arm is held down, I'm also going to do one loop where I go lower down in the arm. So I'm just going to pull the wool through lower down, and then pull it in further down the body. This will hold it down so it doesn't stick up. And now I'm just going to pull a loop and pull the wool through the loop, which should secure it so it doesn't unsew itself. And then we can pull that wool into the Jawa's body. Now we're going to repeat that same process with the other arm. So we're going to put our hook in where the hood meets the body and pull the wool from the other arm into the shoulder, from the other shoulder into the body, I mean. And now we're going to wrap it through the shoulder and into the body a few times. And now I'm going to do my one loop further down the arm and further down the body to hold the arm down. And it's got arms. So we're now incredibly close to the end. We're just going to pull a loop with this wool and pull the wool through the loop to secure it, and then we're going to pull the wool into the body. So, we're now going to give it the bright yellow eyes. If we work out where we're going to put them, I'm going to put them around the second row below the hood. So I'm going to pull the wool through. Whoopsie. And pull the wool through. And I'm going to wrap it round 3 times. And now I'm going to wrap it around another 3 times, a few stitches down the row. And there's the eyes for our Jawa. So now we just have to cut the wool. And pull that into the head. And the Jawa is now finished. If you wish to leave it at this stage, that is fine. I'm now going to go on and add a sash across its chest and give it a gun, which will add character to the character. And finally, to make the accessories, we're going to still be using our 3mm crochet hook. And we're going to be using some pale brown wool. So we're going to make a slip knot. And we're making the sachet to go around its chest. Now we are going to do 30 chains in total, but that's just how many I do. If your Jawa's stuffed more or less, you can always change how many you do. Basically, we just want it to wrap around the Jawa's chest. So there's my 30 chains, which wrap over the top shoulder and down to the hip. So, to attach this in a circle, we're going to do a slip knot into the other end of the chain. So the very first chain we did out of these 30, we're now going to do a slip knot into, making a circle. So there's our slip knot, not our slip knot, our slip stitch. And now we're going to do a single crochet in every chain, depending on how many you did. So I'm going to do 30 single crochets. And after we've done our however many stitches, we're just going to slip stitch back into our first single crochet. And this should sit nicely around the Jawa. I'm going to tuck it under the hood, and there we have it. Now we can cut that wool with enough just to sew it lightly to the hip. So I'm just going to insert my hook into the body under the hip and pull the wool through. And then go back into the sachet and then pull it through again. I'm also calling it a sachet. I'm not sure if it is a sachet. It's kind of a sash, I guess, like a belt around the chest. Because a sachet is like one of those individual tomato sauce sachets. Anyway. Now we're going to pull that wool through into the Jawa's body. And now we only have the gun to go. So we're going to be using dark grey for the gun. And we will get our 3mm crochet hook. And we're going to do our slip knot. We're going to chain 2. So there's our first chain. Here's our second chain. And we're going to do 4 single crochets into our first chain. Now we're going to chain 1 and turn back, and we're going to do 7 rows of these 4 stitches. Here's a picture of the gun. You can see it's just like a long cylinder, really, which gets a bit thicker at the end. So as we're doing the 7 rows, I'll talk you through what we're going to do next. Once we've finished these 7 rows, we're going to sew up along the bottom, make a handle, might even add some ridges just to make it look more complex than just a tube. And ultimately, I'm going to show you how to put 1 ridge on the gun, but you can put as many as you like on. Maybe you could even add a scope, who knows. So if we turn it inside out, I think it gives it a neat finish, but it's all up to you. And now we've got our 7 rows, we're going to increase at the end slightly because that's what the Jawa's gun does. So on this row we are going to increase all of our 4 stitches. This will leave us with 8 stitches. Now we're going to cut the wool nice and long, and cut it like really long this time because we're still going to be crocheting with it. There we go. And pull the wool through to finish. Now we're going to sew this up. So if we fold it in half, we're going to be going just round normal, sewing the 2 edges together. You can use a sewing needle for this. I just choose to use my crochet hook and pull the wool through, whatever takes your fancy. And now that the blaster's fully sewn together, we're going to start making the handle. So we're going to put our crochet hook about 1/3 of the way down the blaster. And we're going to pull our wool through. And now we're going to use that wool, and we are going to pull a loop with it. And we're going to do 3 chains. Now to make the handle, we're going to single crochet 2, back down the chains, and then slip stitch back into the original hole we did our chains from. This gives the blaster a little handle. Now we're going to add some of the ridges you see. So I'm going to put it near to the front about 1 row before it starts increasing. And I'm going to pull a loop and chain. We need to do enough chains that we go around the gun, but we don't want to make it too tight, because if it's too tight we won't be able to see that there's a ridge, it'll just blend into the crochet. So I end up doing 8 chains, and then we slip stitch back into where we started our chains. This gives us a nice little ridge on the gun. You can add as many of these as you like. I only end up adding one. And then we pull the wool into the gun. And there we have it. The blaster's completed and the Jawa's completed, which means our whole figure, our whole realistic Jawa is completed. I hope you're happy with the Jawa, and I hope you enjoyed the process of making it. I'm definitely going to be making more videos where I make other characters from Star Wars like R2-D2, Darth Vader, Luke, Leia, even Baby Yoda, and they're all going to be the same scale as this Jawa, which means they can all go together in a collecting set. So make sure to check those videos out. The Jawa is the first one I've made in this set, and I hope you enjoyed. So thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed the video, click the like button, and tell me in the comments if there's any figures you'd like to see me make. They don't even have to be Star Wars, any figures. And hit the subscribe button if you want to be notified when I make them. Enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye.